Okay, this video is going to be focused on using systems within your own life, tools, apps, the whole like set of items and tools, right? In order to change your life for the better. You might have a problem where you rely on discipline, motivation, and willpower to try and make a change, but you find that it probably doesn't really work. I mean, come on, like you work your job, you've got all these responsibilities, all these chores to do, you're exhausted 24/7, you can't even get a proper night's sleep and you're filling your body up with just random crap. It's gonna be really, really difficult to just rely on yourself, just to rely on some kind of magical force to move you forward. So this video is going to help you because it's going to introduce you to systems type thinking. Try to think a little bit more long term and try to think more sustainably. A lot of people think that if you just work really, really hard out of nowhere, right, that it's just going to work for the long term as well. The mistake people get, like, is you work for a month, let's say, right? Even if you did manage to work for a month and you would like perfect, you just maxed out your schedule, you're unstoppable. After 2-3 months, you're gonna burn out. You're gonna realize. You see, the key is sustainability above all else. Anyways, this is why these systems and tools work, because they are sustainable. You're not gonna be motivated, 12 months a year, are you? Every single day, every month, like that's a lot to ask. It's life is a little bit too chaotic and unpredictable for you to just go along and assume that you'll just be motivated or disciplined, or you can trust yourself to some degree, but you really need to put a lot less trust. Just relying, you want to rely on external things more than yourself. And I'm not trying to say it like, to put you down or that, you can't be trusted. I'm trying to say it as in the more you can offload your energy onto systems that actually work and function, the more likely you are to succeed. I'm going to just cover quickly then why motivation is, really, really bad to rely on. So, being more specific about it, then, right? So, one example, like, let's say you might have actually had a few times where you have been motivated, right? So you're motivated at work and you're waiting, for the 8 hours to pass. You're fired up. You want to change your life completely in just a single day. Two mistakes that happen there. A, you think you can change your life in a day like that. And B, you suddenly became reliant on motivation. So the way your day probably went out is you were super motivated, wasted a bunch of energy at work anyway, so you're exhausted when you come back. And the moment, you come back and you sort out whatever you need to do and you sit down in your chair or you just lay down on the sofa or something, your mind completely gives up. All the motivation just completely disappears. And you kind of want to sit there and like you just wonder what the hell just happened. It's like I was working and I felt super motivated, and then all of a sudden I come home and I just lose all the drive to work. And this is because your brain likes to trick you. When it's motivated and you're not in the moment where you have to do it, you might notice there's also this late night rumination thing where you kind of think about your life and then you get motivated as well. You get motivated in those moments because you don't actually have to do anything, but you get to feel productive and like you're going to change your life. When you're brushing your teeth or something, and you're like, I'm going to change my life tomorrow, and you're motivated all day at work, and then you come home and you do nothing. Oh, and this is like the 10th time, right? This is because you're relying on the wrong thing. Your brain isn't really your ally most of the time. It doesn't help you. If it was, you'd be motivated 24/7. But your brain is your ally in just helping you survive. That's all it really cares about. It doesn't want to help you try and become like really, really productive or a millionaire or something, because it costs too many calories and it's too abstract for it to think, especially that long term. But if you just understand that your brain truly is just a survival machine, it's just fully optimizing to be maximally efficient, to conserve calories, the sooner you can start to understand that it's not your ally. You have to really make that distinction. Every time you trust yourself, you trust your brain, it's going to trick you, it's going to manipulate you, it's going to say what you want to hear in the moment. But then when you actually come back home and when you need to do work, then you suddenly find that your brain is completely against you. It's resistant to change, because that would mean death of its old identity. For you to change and shift into the person you want to be and to, actually be productive and achieve whatever you want to be, there's a requirement where your old identity kind of has to die. So your brain's going to say nice stuff to you just to feel good in the moment. But when it comes to actually changing, it doesn't want to change because that means its old identity would have to die in order to shift to the new identity. You have a set of beliefs and values. And if you actually started to succeed and people started to see that you succeeded, it sounds like, oh, obviously I'd want that, right? But when it comes to the reality of it, you'd find that you, A, wouldn't believe it, and B, you might even be scared of it. You wouldn't know what to do. You get overwhelmed, and C, you suddenly just become lazy. You become, just complacent, and then you return back to the old identity. And this is just what happens when you sort of believe in all that motivation and willpower and discipline, and you think it's just going to work for you magically, right? And honestly, the only way is you have to understand systems and tools thinking. Motivation changes with energy, mood, context all the time. And productivity is going to depend on that feeling all the time. Like, there's no regularity to it and no sustainability to it. And just because you want to be able to get the work done doesn't mean you're going to be able to get it done. The key is to stop relying on yourself, stop trusting yourself, and start offloading and putting all that energy on a systems. So I'm going to cover what systems are to begin with, just so you get a kind of understanding. To me, systems, you have to kind of understand it as this process is that you've got the input, you've got the process, and you've got the output. It's as simple as that, right? It is a collection of inputs that are processed to produce an output. When you can think like that, though, because it's a little bit like, okay, I'm just saying this arbitrary stuff or whatever. Okay, what does this mean? Input, processes, output. But if you can understand inputs in the sense of your environment and triggers, and, this is why I talk about tools and stuff as well, right? Like apps you install, these are inputs. If you input the wrong things, like, oh my, I could cover so much about this. It goes down to the food you eat, the people you surround yourself with, you work your job, that's an input. And your environment, like when you come home, is there a bunch of mess or whatever that gets processed? That's an input. All of these are inputs that will get processed. Your brain just processes stuff. It doesn't have really much control over that. It's just going to keep processing stuff. And once it processes stuff, it produces an output. You get negative inputs, you process it, you get negative outputs. If your room is messy, that's a negative input. So your brain is going to process that. Now it's just wasting calories and energy just thinking about, oh, I lost something there, or the room looks like crap. And then it's going to produce an output, which means you're going to feel a little bit worse and you're going to not be motivated, probably. And also, you're going to process that and not really take care of your room furthermore, right? Because there's no point. You see a trash room. What's the difference between adding another piece of trash? Adding another piece of trash isn't really significant anymore, right? So you're just going to keep treating it like that and everything. The natural, some outputs compound and stuff, right? So this is why you always have to be careful. The mistake people make is when they believe short-term gratification is just in the short term, right? I'm just going to do it for a little bit. Like when you eat your pizza or you scroll on social media, you think that it's only in the moment that you're going to be doing that thing. But the truth is when you initiate that, what happens is your brain starts to find a learned pattern, right? It connects the dopamine to that activity. And then the more often you do it, the more you ingrain it within your identity, and the more habitual it becomes until it compounds, right? Every time you do it, you're more likely to get addicted to it and that it compounds, right? Whatever output you sort of do. And this is true for positive inputs or whatever, right? So you eat pizza, that's a negative input, you process that, and then you produce an output, which is now you're getting slightly more addicted to it, and you can't even think straight now. Your mind is all like foggy and you're like lazy and tired because you're digesting food now. So your brain is reserving energy and calories to just resting. It's just trying to save calories that way, because if it moves around, then like it's going to disrupt the digestive process and causes issues and stuff, especially if it's like really heavy carbohydrate food, really fatty, greasy food. It's really hard to digest that. It takes hours on hours, and those hours are the same hours you spend scrolling then. So you look at your day, it's a series of inputs that get processed that produce a bunch of outputs. You can simply look at it like that, and that's called the system, right? You go to work. So hold on. Before even you go to work, you sleep. You don't really get much sleep. You get 3 hours because your bed is creaking and it's like too warm, and you didn't really go to bed on time anyways. You went to bed at like 3 a.m. Okay, that's already an input. You're going to have negative output because you process that, and you're just really, really tired and everything, right? Like the input produces, you're tired. And then you go to work. Now you're exerting a bunch of energy, produce output, which is the products or service for your company. So now you even have even less energy. So now you're completely exhausted and drained. You come home, you got a bunch of other chores. You sort out the chores as quickly as possible. And your entire room or whatever is messy. So that's another input. And that's negative. And then, oh, maybe there's a cupcake on the table. Okay, now you eat that. Now you're really setting up your day to suck, right? That's another negative input. Now you're kind of like digesting that. You feel a bit lazy. So, oh, I feel lazy. I don't really want to try. So you go scrolling on social media, and then the rest of the day is gone. But the only reason you failed there is because there was a series of inputs that you completely neglected. The more you understand that your body is one of the most significant aspects of a system, like understanding a system, like your body is a system. You have to understand that. And if you can understand that, then you'll understand that you taking care of your health and body is crucial. So this is why you want to exercise. This is why you want to eat healthier food. This is why you want to get your sleep right, and you want to minimize how tired you get from work as well. Like not just physically. I mean, mentally, if you can, get some entertainment or not exert too much energy or get a better job or something, it's a little bit easier. That might help as well. Obviously, it's not that easy, but do everything you can to try and retain energy towards the end of the day, right? And all of this adds up. Your whole body has an influence on your mind. If you feel crap, you're going to think crap. If you feel good, you're going to think good. These, like, all the things that you think that don't matter and you neglect, the truth is they all matter. All of it matters. There is no, like, sort of shortcuts around this, and no, pretending that, oh, there's going to be some secret cheat code. No. First, before you can do anything, the number one system you have to understand is your body and mind. Once you can optimize that, just take care of your body. Optimize and take care of your body. Your system. Put in good inputs for your body. Now you've got a machine that can actually function. From there, you want to optimize your environment, so clean up your room and everything, so you're not processing a bunch of useless information and feeling like crap from there. And then you want to optimize triggers and stuff, like figure out, like, oh, maybe I drink a cup of tea and I feel like doing work, or maybe, I don't know, listening to music or something makes me initiate work, like a certain type of song or something. Just play that song every time you get work done, or whatever works for you, right? Like whatever triggers you can think of, sort of optimize that as well. I'm going to move on to tools and apps. So this is within systems sort of thinking. It's a lot kind of to cover. It's kind of hard to stay sort of consistent with all of it because there's so much. So I'm going to try my best to explain it. To begin, I'm just going to say the kind of tools you want to use. So just kind of offload as much energy as you can on apps that are productive. You don't want to get too many either, because then you're going to be maintaining all of it and it's going to be too much. There's kind of like a Goldilocks zone with how many apps you have or tools or whatever you set up. You don't necessarily need the apps, like a schedule. You could get a schedule app, or you could use a notebook or something, but I prefer apps because they're more convenient and more intuitive. But you want to get a habit tracker, you want to get a schedule. That's mainly the things you want to get, and also get an app blocker. An app blocker is going to help you control your social media addiction and take control back of your time. And another really cool thing, if you don't want to use an app blocker, use Grayscale. Sometimes when you click on like social media stuff or whatever, like let's say you click on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, sometimes you're not even clicking on it just because, oh, you want to get the dopamine, you want to scroll. Maybe that's what you're consciously thinking, but unconsciously what's happening is just because it's like a really shiny, like pretty color, like, you see the pink or the red or whatever, your brain just wants to click on that. It gets attracted to that color. So if you put it in grayscale, you're going to reduce like your social media consumption massively. That's if you don't want to use an app blocker or whatever. So with the habit tracker, you just want to kind of set up like all the tasks you want to do on a weekly basis, monthly basis. You want to like probably just, I don't know, to help, because the setup process can be a bit draining and kind of a bit, annoying to set up and everything. So just write it down first. Like kind of just think about, okay, I need to get this thing done, that thing done, this thing done. Think of all the list of items you got to do, for the week and for the month or whatever. Think daily, monthly, weekly, whatever. I don't know. Maybe you have yearly as well or something. But think about it like that. Write it all down. And from there, just start working your way through the tasks or whatever, the habits, right? You want to set them up for how you want to do it, optimize them for the categories and everything. And then try not to be too perfect in following them. I'm only saying that because you want to prioritize sustainability, but just try, of course, try your best to do them. But if you notice that it's too much, then instead of just like blaming yourself all the time, it might help to reduce the amount of tasks or habits you choose to do in your habit tracker. Just instead of, oh, I have to do a million things, just cut it then. Cut it to 10%. And if that's all you can do, right? There's a certain level of competency, but don't use that as an excuse either to just get away with doing no work. There's a kind of balance, and you have to be quite aware of what you're actually capable of versus what you're making excuses on. And the cool thing about the habit tracker is then you get to see your consistency and everything. You get to see, okay, this month, how well have I done in accomplishing this task every day? And you can clearly see the trend or whatever. And then if like you see you're not really doing it consistently, then instead of blaming yourself, try to think, okay, what can I change a little bit about that? Why am I failing at that? Is it because of like when I come home, I'm arguing with somebody every time or something? Maybe you could just ignore that person. Or maybe is it because you don't get enough sleep or something? Or you like just think about it, and you might find there's a few reasons to why, you're not getting it done as often, and then you can check in the next month and see whether it's improved or not. Of course, there's also your discipline and willpower, which you can kind of clearly track like that. Habit track is really sweet and cool. You could just use it by itself and it's going to be super powerful. You're just going to feel like that natural obligation to get stuff done. Whenever you like, in school you'd have like deadlines and stuff, and you feel like, oh, I got to get it done by then. That's kind of the same feeling you get with a habit tracker. It's just dependent on what time you set, like, okay, do I need to get it done today, this week or this month or whatever? But you kind of get the same feeling as like a deadline, and then you just kind of become more productive, at least like 50% more productive, I guess, just a random number out there, but to give you an idea and stuff. Like a habit tracker is pretty effective and everything. To move on is a schedule. You can choose to not use a schedule, but schedule is also kind of worth doing. The only reason I'm suggesting a schedule is because when you time block and figure out exactly what you need to get done day by day, you're going to be less distracted and you're going to have more clarity, right? Like you kind of it helps to have the habit tracker first, create all the list of items that you need to do, then create time blocks for the categories or whatever, right? So whenever you have a time block for 1 hour, don't write it as like the task you need to do, put it under that category. Like when I need to do different types of work, for my business or whatever, or for YouTube or something, I just put it under a time block called personal work, and that's just all under that same category. Or with chores, I've got my list of, different chores that I need to do. I don't list them out individually. I just put them under a time block where I do all of them as much as I can in that period of time. I find it is pretty helpful and powerful if you commit to it, though. The problem and the mistake you gotta watch out for, though, is if it doesn't work for you, right? Like you try it and you're like, suddenly I'm not magically motivated. You're kind of thinking in the wrong term, like wrong kind of mindset sort of way about it, because if you look at it and understand, this sort of thing takes a long time to kind of, get used to whatever. And if you put too much pressure, like you're gonna just fizzle out. You want to be more sustainable and everything. My point is if you just try to aim to be perfect with it and you assume that's gonna be a magical fix, then that can be a bit bad, because then you're just gonna stop doing it within like a month or two, because you're gonna think, oh, it doesn't work magically. I'm not suddenly super productive. No, you have to take self accountability. I'm sorry, but you're gonna need some level of discipline and willpower. But the level of discipline and willpower that you're actually gonna need compared to not using them is gonna be, 10% of the original value. Like if you had no systems and no tools and no understanding about any of this, your discipline is like, I don't know, 3,000 energy points or something, right? And you only have, I don't know, 1,000 energy points in a day. Well, that gets cut to 300 energy points suddenly, if you just use systems and tools. That sort of effect, that's what you get from using that. But you want to just spend that time, take your time setting up the schedule and change it. Change it when you need to, like, you look at something and it's not really working for you, or you're like, why did I add this time block into this thing? Don't just follow it religiously. Change it to what works for you. At first, when you have your list of tasks, you don't really know how long you're going to take within each time block. Like, you don't know how long you're actually going to take to get that thing done. So you just want to do like the habits, for a few weeks, see, like, kind of measure a little bit, like if you want to measure, but just get a rough idea in your head just how long you take. And then that's going to help you be more accurate and save time within your schedule and stuff, right? It's all about time management and just conserving your energy or whatever. If you just allocate, like for me, decided to just put 10 minutes a bit earlier at work. So before I go to work and I wake up in the morning, I decided, okay, what if I just give myself 10 minutes extra to wake up and go just prepare a little bit longer? Just like 10 minutes to lay in bed and snooze or whatever. And I found that suddenly boosted my mood significantly for the rest of the day. 10 minutes produced an asymmetric amount of reward that I couldn't even comprehend. And I tried it and it's just like completely changes the whole game. Suddenly I just had way better mood, I could think way better, and I had way less stress. I noticed the stress that I had, right, when I hear the alarm is less about like, okay, it's the alarm, I have to go to work or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit stressful knowing you have to spend, 8 hours at work. But when I just wake up and I can like kind of like, okay, the alarm goes off and I can kind of just lay in bed for 5 to 10 minutes and I don't have to feel guilty about that. I kind of just get a catch up on the day. I'm gonna kind of like start the process like, okay, what do I need to do? That really helped me. I suddenly had way less stress and I felt like a way better mood. I'm just giving this example to say that sometimes there's like small amounts of time. If you know how to manage your time really, really well, then you like once you figure out how long you take to get certain things done and what time you need for what, you can get really, really powerful results and effects from that. Like just manage your time as best as you can and always think, would it be better if I just move this time block elsewhere? Another example is if you work out instead of going to the gym at I don't know 6 p.m. or something, right, where maybe there's lots of people, it's really sweaty and all the machines are taken over, and then you kind of guilt trip yourself. You're like, oh, why can't I never feel like going to the gym. Well, it's no wonder because the whole gym is completely full of people. It's all sweaty, it's way too warm, it's horrible to work out in there, and you're just constantly waiting for the machines and having to talk to people and stuff like, oh, can I use this, can I use that machine? That's gonna really ruin your experience with sort of the gym and kind of getting stuff done. And if you understand that by moving that time block towards the later evening, I don't know, 9 p.m. if that works for you or something, way less people. It's a lot cooler now, and you actually have access to machines. You'll find this magical fix where suddenly you're hyper consistent and super disciplined according to society. The difference was that you moved that time block elsewhere to when it's more suitable. And this is kind of the mistake that you can make when you just fully attach your own self-worth to discipline, motivation, willpower and stuff. When you do that, you assume like, oh, if I'm just not magically disciplined, then I must be a failure, right? But the truth is it's not you half the time. It's how well you've optimized your systems and tools. Instead of looking at it like I'm wrong for not being motivated, I'm wrong for feeling exhausted, optimize things. Make it so you're less tired. Make it so maybe you are more motivated naturally because you just feel better. You're in better shape. You're healthier. You got enough sleep. Do stuff that helps set you up. I'm going to move on to the app blocker as well. And lastly, I'm just going to explain that. So app blocker I find is really, really effective. It's actually so effective that I completely forgot about it. It works so well that I've completely quit my social media addiction. So many, like I did it in like a month, I think. But that month was me setting up the app blocker and learning how it works and everything. It depends really on the app blocker you use. I'm telling you now, you need the strictest possible app blocker like you can find on the store, right? Like on the App Store. If you settle for something that's not strict enough, like, yeah, it might have some effect. It might reduce your social media consumption, but you'll find that you probably just bypass it and then you click on it. The best one I found, literally, like you block the app from being deleted, you block the settings. This thing becomes so powerful. Like, because you can't do anything. It works so well that you can't like actually do anything. It literally it works guaranteed. If you're addicted to social media, yeah, the strictest app blocker possible. Learn how it works. I'm telling you, like, if you have to pay for it, pay for it. It's worth it. It's not too expensive anyways. It's like, I don't know, like £2 a month or something, or you could get the annual, like, or just buy the lifetime if that's what you want. But it's so worth it because I forgot, like, I haven't really been scrolling for like 3-4 months or something, or 6 months. I don't know. I can't even remember the last time I scrolled because I figured this thing out ages ago. And everybody else like takes so long. They rely on magical discipline and willpower. But all you have to do is just get an app blocker. That's all you have to do. And you just need to set it up. Like, look at the apps you don't want, just block them then, right? And this is true for the websites and stuff. Just block the stuff. And if you need to use it for work and stuff, like for me, you're like, okay, well, if you don't scroll on social media, then how are you posting these videos? I use my computer and I use the shorts blocker or whatever as well, and all the other, like, I block everything else using something called Cold Turkey Blocker, and that's an extension tool that you pay for, and that stuff just sorts out everything, and I can't bypass it pretty much. Like, nothing I can really do. Like, it's just, yeah, that's set up. I can't delete it. Really can't get rid of it. Nope. It works really well though, because that's pretty much the only way you can make this sort of stuff work. But I set it up and I use a tool called Undistracted to remove all the recommendations and all the random crap that you find on YouTube to make it like less distracting, so I can just focus on the posting the video. That's what I came for. Or like if I'm searching for something, then there's only the search bar. So when I search, it's completely intentional. Is what happens then. It's really, really powerful. Like I'm telling you, just go into the app blocker, find something that works for you. I'm gonna recommend. So I'm gonna get my phone. And I'm just gonna check real quick the apps that I use. Right, this is if you're an Android user. So use the apps that I use for the best results. Then, so it's kind of hard because these kind of titles are a little bit iffy. But you want to look for Habit Now for the habit tracker. You want to use Time Tune for the schedule, and the app blocker is literally just called App Block. So it's kind of like a blue icon and stuff. That's what I used, and I pretty much paid for like a bunch of them. What have I got? The lifetime stuff. I don't even remember. It's just I sorted it all out ages ago. So, and I've just been optimizing, and it works really, really well. That's what I use on the Android. But if you wanna set stuff up like on iPhone or whatever, then you're just gonna have to find something else that works for you. Like it's not too important. An app blocker is gonna be an app blocker, a habit tracker is gonna be a habit tracker, a schedule is gonna be a schedule. Whatever app you use, it's gonna do the same thing pretty much. That's the whole point of the app, right? But the only reason I like those ones specifically is because I find the interface is more intuitive, it's more easy to use, and everything more easy to set everything up, and it's more like visual and easy to see. Like for example, in Time Tune, I get to see how much time is remaining in each time block, and I get notifications when a new time block begins, which helps me kind of initiate and figure out what I need to do and stuff. Really, really cool stuff. But and also I use that specific app block. Like it's literally called app block. I use that one because it's as strict as possible that you can. It's like the strictest thing you can find. So set all of that stuff up, and it's gonna really, really work well for you. Because it's like you wonder, why does this stuff work? Why does it make you more productive? And it's like a whole rabbit hole of stuff, really. The truth is about it is the first thing you're doing, like I said, is you're offloading all your energy onto these systems and stuff. So all your cognitive processing stuff, like your brain goes like a million miles a minute and you're constantly thinking about stuff, right? And if you're thinking about, I got to do this and that, well, instead of thinking about a million things you got to do, wouldn't it make sense to just have all those tasks, even just a to-do list as an example? Wouldn't it help to just write it all out so you don't have to keep it in your working memory? And then you have more energy to actually do those things. That's kind of the reason why it works, because you're offloading all the cognitive load onto the systems and tools that you set up and everything. It works really, really well in that sense. And also because you produce more clarity. Sometimes when you need to do a task, you kind of don't even know what it means. Let's say you got to clean your room. That's not really specific. You don't really know what that means. You're like, yeah, I kind of got an idea. Like maybe hoover it, maybe make the bed up, but I don't really know what it means. Instead of doing like writing it out like that, and this could be a problem if you use the habit track and you're not specific enough, so pay attention here. Instead of clean my room, break it down in every single step of clean your room. Make the bed, hoover the room, organize things so it looks neat or whatever, and then fold your clothes or anything, right? All of this, do it in step by step and have it separate, as specific as possible. That increases the clarity, and then you're going to magically find, well, nothing's really magical, but you're going to find that you're more consistent and more likely to do that thing. And the last thing I kind of want to cover, which might be really, really cool, it's a cool trick, and this sort of might relate to tools. I don't know how it relates too much, but it's related because it's going to help you be more productive. At the end of the day, that's the main relationship, I suppose. It's called the 5-minute rule. So I went from calling it chair sitting to calling it focus mode to just realizing it's the 5-minute rule. If you're using apps and tools and stuff and these tricks, use everything in your arsenal, everything that you have. If listening to music helps, listen to music. If the 5-minute rule helps, use the 5-minute rule. If a habit tracker helps, use the habit tracker. You get the idea. Everything. Use as much as you can within reason, to the point like you're not maintaining stuff. Like don't start using Excel and booking in every minute of the day and how you spent it and like your mood or something and your efficiency. Don't do that. That's way too much maintenance. You're going to be spending way too much cognitive load on something that doesn't matter, and you're not going to move forward. At the end of the day, you're looking at things that actually move the needle and stuff, right? So find stuff that actually moves the needle, isn't a waste of time, and just bundle it all together. Use as much as you can that makes sense. So, okay, I'm going to go into explaining the 5-minute rule. If you watch my chair sitting or focus mode like videos where I explain that sort of stuff, then you kind of have a good idea of how this works. But the 5 minute rule is just compressed because I find it simplifies it and it makes way more sense. 5 minute rule is if you don't feel like doing something, let's say you like gotta, I don't know, log in some Excel stuff for your business or something. You gotta track like your finances. I'm just using an example for what I do, right? If I don't feel like doing that, what I do sometimes, like, okay, sometimes I'll just listen to music or whatever, and that gets me into the mood. But if none of that works, the 5 minute rule is pretty powerful and it works surprisingly well. This is also good for impulse purchases, I think I found as well. Like, if you want to buy something right now, 5 minutes, think about it. Is it a good purchase? Is it a good idea? And then that kind of stops you from making bad decisions like that, I think. But 5 minute rule, just sit down, set a 5 minute timer, remove all distractions, like put away your phone, put away, I don't know, whatever you have, like anything that's in your way. I can't really think of anything to be honest. You get the idea though. Remove all distractions, all of them. You cannot have anything. You're gonna be bored for 5 minutes. Like, I don't know, if you're in a room or whatever, just close the door. Don't really talk to anybody. Don't do anything. Don't try to do anything, right? Like, don't try to do a little bit of work or something. No, you're just sitting there, right? And set the timer for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever works for you. I just call it the 5 minute rule because I think I found 5 minutes for me is enough time. Set the 5 minute timer, sit there until it's over. Like, just timer's running and you're just thinking about stuff. Just think about stuff, right? What happens is sometimes you don't have enough clarity about something. And if you just sit there for 5 minutes, you can create that clarity. You can figure out what that task is and what the next steps are. And sometimes just thinking helps you generate really good ideas. Most people are constantly 24/7 on just busy work all the time, and they don't even give themselves 5 minutes of thinking time. This is why people just 30 years down the line, they're like, how did I end up here? And they have a whole middle life crisis and stuff. That's because they didn't spend 5 minutes thinking about their life. But that's a whole nother separate thing. I'm just trying to say that just sitting and thinking is really powerful. But what I found, 5 minute rule, you sit down, set the 5 minutes, and then you just think about it. You kind of figure out what that task is, what you need to get done. And then over that period, you'll just find that you naturally start to feel like doing it a little bit more. You're like a little bit more tolerant and acceptable. You're more acceptant of it. Instead of you struggling, you're like, oh, you have to force yourself. Okay, think about it for 5 minutes. Just be like, okay, why don't I want to do this? Like, why does it suck so much? Is it worth doing? What do I get out of it? Maybe there might be something more efficient to do, even, right? This is why 5 minute rule can be powerful. And you just sit around, think, okay, and then after the 5 minutes is over, you're kind of gonna feel like doing it a little bit more. At least like a little bit more. A little bit more you're gonna feel like doing it. And it's gonna have an influence. And you'll just finally decide, okay, I'm gonna do it. You're gonna inch towards that. You're like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's worth doing. Okay, maybe I'll just try. Maybe I'll just do a little bit. And you do a little bit and you get carried away, and then 3 hours later you've done a bunch of work or whatever. So it might work really, really well for you. Use it when you don't feel like it. Try it out. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Don't assume that it's also a magical fix. Everything I present to you, there's no such thing as a magic, click your fingers fix. You're going to need a little bit of discipline and willpower and self accountability when you fail, and understand that at the end of the day, you're looking at the long term of this, and you want to just try and be as sustainable as possible, right? You want to keep going. It's a marathon, right? If you run max speed in a marathon, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to huff out, and then you're just going to lay on the floor while everyone else, like, I don't know, the slowest person is just going to walk by you, like, I don't know, like some old granny or something just runs past you and you're just flat out huffing on the floor. Like, this is what happens when you rush things, and this is why you'd fail, like, it's because you're trying to make things fast. The sooner you can understand you can't change anything, like, in the short term, you can't. You move by steering a ship. You don't have a race car, you have a ship. When you are sailing across the ocean, you're not just racing and turning everywhere. No, you slowly steer it. It takes time to turn a ship. And if you just try to move the ship a little bit and then you give up and think, oh, it's not moving, I just give up, then you're not going to get anywhere, right? You're just like, oh, it takes too long. No, it's going to take a long time because it's a marathon. It takes a while. It takes a long time to steer. You want to prioritize not gassing out more than you want to prioritize being a hyper efficient machine or something. You want to be as sustainable as possible. It's more useful that you keep going, 2, 3 years down the line without burning out, without going crazy, than it is useful that you're just going to get a bunch of work done and you feel good about yourself for 1 month. And then the next month, you just gas out. And that's all because you just burn out after that 1 month and you try to force it. You won't force things. It takes so long to change your life. It takes ages. So treat it like a marathon. It takes a while. You have to steer it. You're not a race car. You're this big ass like ship. You have to steer slowly. And it's a slog to move it. Oh, the whole thing. But if you take your time, then you will move it in the direction you want it to be. Instead of going into crash landing into whatever random island. If you want to land on like in the country you want to be in, then you have to be okay with steering it and waiting it out the entire time. Because either way, you're not going to rush it. If you rush it, you'll end up crashing on some random island. You'll be stuck there. And there was no point because you kind of just end up, takes about the same amount of time and you just end up nowhere, right? Versus if you just decided, okay, I'll just accept it. I'm just going to steer it to the country I want, just take my time, use the navigation tools. The navigation tools are the habit tracker, app blocker schedule, the tools that I give you and understanding systems. That's the navigation tools. And then just your discipline and willpower is like you steering it and stuff, right? So you just slowly steer it into the direction that you want. And if you do that over time, you're going to end up where you want to be. It takes a while, but it's kind of necessary, especially if you want to develop into that version that you want to be. But yeah, that's covering systems, tools, sort of, in a way that maybe you can understand and that can actually help you out and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna end the video here, and if you watch till the end, well, tons of value. Rewatch it as many times as you need to extract the value, and make sure to like and comment how it helped. I'm gonna end the video. Hopefully it helped.